we, as a medical society, are giving women breast cancer with our demanding that they get mammograms. Mammograms cause breast cancer, period. So mammograms are not healthy for women. Women should not be getting routine mammograms. That's crystal clear, published in the peer-reviewed literature. And yet today, if a woman went to her gynecologist or family doc, she would have this shoved down her throat, extreme coercion to go get this mammogram that's causing breast cancer. It's not saving lives. You have a 4% increased risk of dying if you get mammograms, period.
So the detection technique that we're using, the primary technique that we use to detect breast cancer, is causing breast cancer.
Absolutely. It's a terrible test, you know, smashing women's breast and then irradiating with cancer-causing irradiation. And then it's so insensitive. For women under 50, it's only like 52% effective, sensitive. That means 52 is pretty close to 50, right?
Yeah.
So about half. That means that half the women that have breast cancer, it would not detect their cancer. That's a terrible test. And so there are much better tests, and yet this is what's still being crammed down women's throats today. Terrible test, causes breast cancer.
And it doesn't detect, it detects 50% and causes cancer. You said there are better options. What better options are there for detecting breast cancer?
Well, there's two better options. If you've got a lump, if you think you've got something, ultrasound is great. It's a test of anatomy. Mammograms are tests of anatomy. Ultrasounds are tests of anatomy. MRIs are tests of anatomy. So if you've already got a lump, you want a test of anatomy. So that would be like an ultrasound, because they can see the lump, they can see its consistency, they can see whether there's calcium in it. And they can look at blood flow, because tumors are going to have increased blood flow. So for instance, the sensitivity of ultrasound is up around 80%. It's much higher than mammograms, and the sensitivity is higher too. But if you're looking about prevention, if you're talking about screening, there's really only one device out there, and that is thermography, an infrared thermal camera. Nothing touches the lady, nothing smashes her breast. There's no cancer-causing irradiation. As we sit here, we are emitting heat in the spectrum called infrared.
Okay.
There's infrared, visual, and ultraviolet. So this is the infrared spectrum of light, which our eyes don't see, but which is very detectable by the cancer. The military developed this so that they could see people sneaking at them at nighttime, and so that they could shoot down missiles and things, because they're producing heat.
Sure, like the night vision goggles.
There you go. Night vision goggles are infrared goggles. So we use this as a medical application to detect hot spots in the breast. Well, long before there was a tumor there were cancer cells. Probably 8 to 10 years before there was a tumor, there were cancer cells starting to grow. 2 cells, 4 cells, 16 cells, 144 cells, et cetera, et cetera. And it takes about 8 years until you get to about a centimeter in size for a mammogram or an ultrasound to detect it. Well, that's too late, because that 1 centimeter tumor, about 5/16 of an inch, less than half an inch, is about 1 billion cells. When you get to 1 billion cells, the cancer has already eroded into the lymphatic system and the venous system, and it's shedding cancer cells all through the body. So that's why mammograms, one of the many reasons mammograms don't save lives, it is not early detection. And that's one of the little lies they propagated along. Early detection saves lives. Get your mammogram today.
Right.
Well, that statement's true. Early detection does save lives. It's just that mammography is not early detection. It's too late. And then the cancer-causing radiation. So the long and the short is, you're causing much more breast cancer with mammograms than you are detecting.
Okay, so you mentioned early detection. The phrase that you hear all month this month, October 2014.
Yeah.
early detection is your best protection.
Thermography is the only early detection because as years before that became a tumor, those cells were growing. They were increasing their blood supply. Some of them are dying off, creating nitrous oxide and other debris that dilates the blood vessels in the skin above it. So that reflects as a heat pattern on the thermogram. So thermograms are the only early detection out there. That's because thermography is a test of physiology. It's looking at what's happening in the breast, as opposed to the other tests are anatomy. Something already has to be big enough to see. And when it's big enough to see, it's virtually too late.
It's already beginning to spread. So you hear all month this month, this Breast Cancer Awareness Month, about early detection. You're saying they should be using thermography instead of mammography. It's a better early detection technique. Why, in your opinion, are they not using it if it works so much better?
You know, there are things that you just want to shoot yourself over that the medical standard medicine does not do. I'm not much of a conspiracy theory type person, but I've come to believe that American medicine is not about helping people get well. It's about managing disease and selling drugs and creating money through the paradigm of patient treatment. So you can't talk about cure. You can't look at getting people well from cancer. They just want to treat them and then watch them die. It's really a pretty pathetic state of affairs.
Yes.
Mammography releases ionizing radiation that causes genetic mutations in your body cells. And if you get enough mammograms, eventually they will find cancer because the mammograms cause
the cancer. Yeah, and I think it was Dr. Russell Blaylock a few years ago came out with a study that each mammogram increases the woman's risk of cancer by 2%. So if you look at the period from the age of 40 to the age of 50, where women are now by the American Cancer Society recommended start getting your mammograms at 40 to the age of 50, that's 10 years times 2%. Their risk is increased by 20%. And a recent study that just was released last year showed that mammograms from the age of 40 to 50 do not help detect cancer. The ACS knows that, but they have not changed their recommendation.
No, because mammography is the recruitment method for the cancer industry. The cancer industry is a multi-billion-dollar for-profit industry. Anyone who thinks that the cancer industry is primarily motivated by compassionate love for women's health is kidding themselves. This is an industry that is insidiously engaged in routine systemic censorship of information about natural cancer cures, treatments, and prevention methodologies that really work. This is an industry that uses mammography as a way to scare women, to use fear-based tactics, fear medicine, into receiving treatments that most of the time are not necessary and don't help them.
What is tamoxifen? So on a cancer cell, especially a breast cancer cell, it has receptor sites. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of receptor sites, and some of those receptor sites are for estrogen. And so tamoxifen is a drug that hooks to the estrogen receptor site and occupies it. Now, you want that site occupied. There are three natural female estrogens, estrone, estriol, and estradiol, estradiol being the more potent, naturally cancer-causing one. So you want to occupy that receptor site to keep estradiol from docking there, but you could be giving that patient, and I do give my breast cancer patients, estriol, a normal hormone that their body makes and is used to. I just give it in abundance to block those receptor sites. You can block those receptor sites with soy. You can block those receptor sites with many non-stimulating things. You want those estrogen receptor sites blocked, but not with tamoxifen.
Well, I know you're not a conspiracy theorist, but nothing better to create repeat business than to perpetuate the disease that you're supposedly trying to treat.
Mammograms, tamoxifen, you've got a built-in clientele. You're going to get that patient back. They're going to get, if they don't have breast cancer, you take enough mammograms and they will have breast cancer. You give them tamoxifen, you know you're going to get that patient back. good repeat business. It's a good business model.
It's a good business model if you don't have very many morals or
Yes.
a conscience. This month is October 2014. We've got Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Run for the cure, or maybe we should be running for the prevention.
Well, we absolutely should. And, you know, I don't fault mostly women, all those women and some men who go out and run and walk and try and raise money because they have issues like you and I had. You know, our parents, whoever, died of cancer. So they're trying to raise money for something that they feel or they've been told is the answer. But talk to those people and say, well, why are you doing this? And they'll tell you the reasons. And you say, where does the money go? What's the answer? The answer is always cancer research, excuse me. And the fact is that they don't know where that money goes. And they need to know. Because the majority of that money goes into what I call the dark, black, sucking hole that is called cancer research, but it's never going to be seen or heard from again. Those research dollars. Why not put it into prevention? Why not to put it into things that actually work for cancer? Why not have clinical trials actually on foods and supplements? But the FDA, one of the former FDA directors said, in my tenure, we will never ever do a clinical trial on a natural substance. We won't allow it.
Right.
It's a problem we have in our country today. The actual things that keep us healthy and heal us when we're not healthy are not allowed to see the light of day, ever. And they're not even considered when this is what God put on this planet and on this earth to prevent these sicknesses and diseases that are largely man-made and to heal us when and if we get these sicknesses and diseases. And yet they're given no consideration today.
Tamoxifen, the top drug for treating breast cancer, actually causes cancer. Mammograms cause cancer. Thermography is a much better option. Yes, this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but shouldn't we run for the cause instead of for the cure? Shouldn't we try to prevent breast cancer instead of continually treating it? Now, I agree with Bob Wright. I'm not blaming the good people that are running for the cure, those people that are out there doing their best to find an answer to cancer. The problem is about 80% of that money that you're donating is not going to research. Less than 20% of the money that's donated to these cancer charities actually goes to research. It goes to administrative overhead. It goes to their fat cat salaries of the administrators and the board of directors. It goes to travel and entertainment expenses, but it does not go to research.